A clear vision simplifies my life where I don't have to be a jack of all trades. I can be a master of one. We need a clear direction on where we're headed. But friends, many times we don't have that. I firmly believe that many of us don't understand our vision because we don't understand ourselves. Unless we truly know ourselves and how we're uniquely qualified to accomplish whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, then oftentimes we're floundering and we're not the leaders that we could be. So how do we identify our vision? How do we identify where is it that we are headed? So as we're looking at this vision, we have to be aware of who we are. But here is perhaps the key. Have you ever found yourself demotivated or maybe anxious in the fact that, man, there's so much for me to do and I just don't have the time to do it? Recently, I was riding down the road listening to a song on the old country music station, and Tim McGraw came up and he sang this song, and as he was singing it, the words hit me differently this time. And I asked the question, is he right? Has Tim McGraw captured the meaning of life in a song? The song was Live Like You're Dying. I can remember when I first heard this, it was back in 2005. He released it in 2004, and it was 2005. I can remember it clearly because I was holding my little baby at that time, my baby daughter named Savannah, and I can remember listening to this thinking, wow, what would I do if this meaning of this song actually came into my life? It was for those of us who've had children, maybe the first time you hold your precious little baby, you realize how frail life is, but you also realize how abbreviated life is. In this song, for those of you who've never heard it, it's about a man in his early 40s who finds out that he has perhaps not long to live due to a medical condition. And the question is asked, so what did you do when you found this out? Tim sings a chorus that's really upbeat, and he sings some words that are pretty powerful. He says, I went skydiving. I went Rocky Mountain climbing. I rode a bull named Fu Manchu. He said, I began loving deeper, and I spoke sweeter, and I gave forgiveness, and I, quote, lived like I was dying. That words that I was writing the other day hit me with some gravity that I've never had before. I've been thinking a lot about life recently and about the influence that each of us have within our respective businesses or within our respective lives. Recently, my stepdad passed away. And as he was nearing the end, he made a few comments that I'll probably never forget. He made comments like, I thought I had more time. He made comments like, there's so much work for me to do. Now, there wasn't like work in sense of a job. It was things that he and my mom wanted to do around the house, around their particular river house and things of that nature. And then I watched him love his family. Very similar to the song that Tim McGraw is speaking about. So as I've been thinking about this event in my own life, along with songs and along with my own life experience to this point, and the impact that I want to have on your lives, as well as anybody that I can impact, I began thinking about why is it that when we have a limited time period, we become intensified around our mission or our desires or our goals, aspiration. You see, finality or the abbreviation of time brings about a lot of things. Today we're going to dive into how an abbreviation of time brings about a clear description of our vision. It brings about a self-awareness. It brings about discipline. That's a key word for today is discipline. And it brings about accountability. So let's dive into, is Tim McGraw right? In the scriptures it says, where there is no vision, the people perish. Where there's no vision, the people perish. Now, I've heard this verse used many different times throughout my life. I've heard it around like an evangelical type movement where you need to tell people about, about your religion, about your God, about your faith. I've heard that. But I want to take a different perspective on that. In the fact that where there's no vision, the people perish is basically a leadership charge. You see, when it says when there's no vision, what that's referring to is when there's no discipline, when there's no discipline to a calling. And then when it says the word perish, it actually means to cast off restraint, So where there is no discipline to a calling, the people cast off restraint. In other words, Where there is no vision, the business perishes. Where there is no discipline, the business perishes. Where there is no discipline, the business casts off restraints. It's not uncommon to think in this term. Where there is lack of leadership, everyone does that which is right in their own eyes. You see, visionary discipline, which is what we as owners, as leaders should have, visionary discipline is a relentless pursuit of a self-imposed standard. Why? To achieve a higher goal. Let me say that again. Visionary discipline is the relentless pursuit of a self-imposed standard to achieve a higher goal. That is a powerful statement. There is a link, friends, between the vision of the leaders of an organization and the organization's success. There's a direct link between the two. I have watched so many business owners flounder. You ask them, where's your business going? And they can't give a clear path forward. They can't opine in the future. Here's what we're trying to achieve. And as such, the team, the people following, the clients, the industries in which they work, the community cast off restraint. In other words, they do the best they can, but there's no discipline to help achieve a common goal. You see, a clear vision, it simplifies life. Think about that. A clear vision simplifies my life where I don't have to be a jack of all trades. I can be a master of one. A clear vision gives me clarity on what I'm trying to do, and it simplifies life so much. It makes life's decisions and choices easier for me to make. If I know where I'm going, then I can make better choices. It controls my actions or my lack thereof. It tells me where I want to pour my energy into. If I know the vision of where I'm headed, I know now how to deploy my energy for the greatest results. It controls my destination. My vision says, here is where you're going. And if I cast my vision in one direction, chances are I'm not going to end up in the other as long as I stay true to my vision. And it builds trust and admiration. Think about the people that you trust the most. Think about the people that you admire in your life. Think about the people that you allowed to speak into your life as the greatest influence in your life. More than likely, friends, they are individuals who have a clear vision of what they want to accomplish in their life. Think about that teacher, your favorite teacher of all times. Why do they impact your life? Why are they sticking in your head right this very moment without even knowing their name? Because they had a vision that they were going to influence youngsters for a particular outcome. And that was their life's mission. And you felt their passion. You felt their trust. You gained trust in what they were doing. You may not have liked it. My favorite teacher was a coach, and man, he kicked my tail at times. I may not have liked it, but my goodness, I admire him. And to this very day, if I called his name, you wouldn't know who he was. But to me, he's a hero. Why? He had a clear vision of what he wanted to accomplish in his life. So when we think about vision, one of the first things we need to do is we need to define our vision. Where are we going? And why are we going there? Recently, you've heard on the podcast some of my visions, some of my dreams, some of the things I want to accomplish in my life. Scripture says, delight thyself in the Lord, and he'll give you the desires of your heart. Think about that. The desires of your heart. What is it in you that just you can't help but get off your mind? Not too long ago, my son and I were out fishing offshore. And we were going through some pretty heavy waves. We were having a blast catching mahi and tuna, and we were trying to catch some other sporting fish that particular day, wahoo in particular. And the waves had gotten pretty heavy. It was about a 6-foot sea. We were in about a 30-foot boat. So it wasn't too terribly bad, but it was getting to the point that, hey, we're tired. As we're offshore, we use navigational tools like a compass and a GPS. The compass shows us north, south, east, and west, and it gives us our bearings. But the GPS shows us exactly where we are and where we have been and where we need to return to. It actually shows like a dotted line tracing exactly where the boat came from in port and where we were presently. And if I wanted to return, I could simply look on the GPS without even having to look up at the surroundings and say, okay, I need to head this direction. In that particular day, our GPS just crapped out on us. It didn't work. We couldn't tell where we had been, and honestly, you couldn't tell exactly where you were. Now, we had a compass on the boat, and I could tell north, south, east, and west, or we could have navigated by the stars, right? I mean, we could have navigated by the sun. We could have navigated through a couple of different ways. But it was so much easier for us, once that GPS started working, for us to look clearly, here is exactly where we're going. And before then, the boat was drifting back and forth as I was trying to navigate using the compass, holding a specific heading. But when we set that GPS back in line, we knew exactly where we needed to be. According to Rick Dimon, the founder and CEO of Oak Street Funding, he says, and I quote, "You need the vision or mission. Those can evolve over time as your business evolves, but it is good to have. It is good to have a mental mindset to align your employees, your executives, and your shareholders. We need a clear direction on where we're headed." But friends, many times we don't have that. And just like that song Tim McGraw was speaking about, without a clear direction, without a discipline to an outcome, many times life just goes. Many times time just falls between our fingertips like sand. So how do we identify our vision? How do we identify where is it that we are headed? I would challenge you to take some time and just write a bucket list down. Have fun with this. What is it that you want to accomplish within your business? Just write it down. Have you ever thought about it? Is it a revenue goal? Is it a geographic goal, like a footprint? Is it a number of employees? Is it a number of clients or customers? Is it an innovation? Something you're trying to make. And if I could just make this, man, it would be amazing. There was a movie in the 70s called Your Wildest Dreams, and it was about writing down anything that you would like to accomplish in life. Have you ever done that? Have you ever sat back and said, here's what I want to accomplish? Let me ask you this question. If you were to hear the news, just like Tim McGraw's song stated, that you had a very limited time frame, what would you want to accomplish? Would you go skydiving? Would you ride a bull named Fu Manchu? What is it that you want to accomplish? And you've got to get specific. You've got to get specific in your desires. Paul says, this one thing I do. I forget the things which are behind me, and I look forward and I press toward the mark, and he's looking forward in the future. You know, many of us, we live in our past. We live off the accomplishments of yesterday. But we forsake the vision of where we're headed. I submit to you that if we can gain crystal clarity on exactly what we want to accomplish within a set time frame, many things come to life. It will bring us joy and an excitement. As I mentioned, someone recently said, man, Justin, your voice is sparkly again. You've got this light in your eyes that we haven't seen in some time. And it's like, I see my vision. I know where I'm headed. I can't wait to get there. Let's go, let's go, let's go, let's go. And it's this excitement that I just can't wait. It brings an excitement and brings joy. It makes me feel fulfilled as I'm stepping toward each of these milestones that we're now accomplishing. It turns work where work is not work. I can't tell you how many times when we're consulting with business owners and we work with them around this, what's your vision or what's your mission? I'm not going to argue the words, but what are you trying to go? And as we gain clarity and they step back and see how all the pieces of their business drive them to that destination they have way out in the future, my goodness, friends, work where they once dreaded and they got frustrated and angry and they got just lack of motivation, it flipped us on its head. They became the opposite. They weren't frustrated. They were able to work through the challenges. They were able to show up to work and have a blast. Why? Because they gained clarity on where they were headed. It feels like you're making progress. Those of us who have children, I know we've taken the road trip and we've heard the famous statement, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Leave me alone. Be quiet. We've all heard this. Or more importantly, Daddy, I got to pee. We've heard these things that we're driving. But if you think about it and you put your mind, the best we can, in a child's mind, they don't have the GPS perhaps like we would have on our phone or in our cars. They don't have any concept to time on how long it's going to take us to make this journey. The same is true, friends, about us. Unless we gain clarity specifically around where we're going and we become disciplined, and we're going to come to that word, discipline in our approach, then many times we chase shiny objects. The time flees between our fingertips. We miss the things that really perhaps were on our bucket list, like skydiving in Tim's song, or like riding a bull, or like saying I'm sorry, or like loving a loved one very deeply. We miss those because we're undisciplined. And so because we're undisciplined toward our one destination, we cast off restraints, as the scripture says. We do what we think is best in that moment. And we miss so much potential. You may say, Justin, I don't know what my vision is. I don't know my mission for my life. We've all been there. Here's what I would challenge you to do. Write your bucket list. What is it that you want to accomplish with your life? Do you want to ride a bull named Fu Manchu? Maybe that's a bucket list thing, like in Tim McGraw's song. Write down your bucket list and then keep pushing forward to your passion. As you lean into your passion, it becomes clear of what your purpose is. You see, ultimately, God gives us a purpose. He's designed us for what he's designed for us. I believe that with all my heart. And so if we can't crystal clear lay our fingers on here's what my mission in life is, and that's okay. In fact, I said not too long ago on one of the podcasts, I said, I finally understand without a doubt what I'm set here on earth for. Now, friends, that's 30 years in business. That's thousands of books read. That's hundreds of hours of me contemplating just life. And I know beyond a shadow of a doubt now at 45 why I'm here. I know it. I know the vision. You may say, Justin, I'm not there yet. Then follow your passions. What is it that you want to accomplish? You see, you have desires in your heart that God's given you. He placed these seeds of curiosity that's unique to you. And whatever they are, man, just keep chasing that rabbit. Keep chasing that rabbit, because point number 2 is that as you chase that rabbit, you're cultivating a self-awareness. If you had asked me 6 years ago when I started the podcast, hey, Justin, do you believe the vision I have today? Do you believe that you'll impact millions and millions of people? I don't think so. Today it's like, yes, I know where I'm going. I know specifically where I'm headed. Why? Because as you focus on this idea of I am built for a particular purpose, you're going to cultivate some self-awareness. My mom used to say there is an 11th commandment. The 11th commandment is fool not thyself. Fool not thyself. Obviously, there's 10 commandments. We've read about that through Sunday school, etc. You know, that Moses was given. Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Honor the father, mother. Various commandments, right? There is an 11th one my mom often said, and that is, don't lie to yourself. A fool not thyself. You see, unless we truly know ourselves and how we're uniquely qualified to accomplish whatever it is we're trying to accomplish, then oftentimes we're floundering and we're not the leaders that we could be. You see, self-awareness is the key to unlocking your full potential as a business owner. The more you understand yourself, the clearer your vision becomes. I often use the SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Very similar, you may look at your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, and your priorities. If you were to take and build a quadrant for all of your strengths, what would you write there? What would you write as your weaknesses? What would you write as your values? Have you ever sat down and listed out who are you? What makes you tick? What are some uncompromising values that you have? And then what are your priorities? See, all of our values and priorities and strengths and weaknesses are going to be different. We're uniquely and wonderfully made. And if we understand ourselves, we can unlock the vision. We can unlock the potential of ourselves and our business. You see, as we know ourselves, it optimizes our decision making. We'll know where to look for in the blind spots of decision making. It helps us build stronger relationships. It drives personal and professional development and growth. I firmly believe that many of us don't understand our vision because we don't understand ourselves. I firmly believe that. So here's some ideas that you might utilize to help gain a better understanding of who you are. First is a 360 feedback. It's an old methodology to where you have peers or maybe acquaintances, or maybe fellow business owners, or maybe even your employees tell you your strengths, weaknesses, and your values and your priorities. You get their feedback and you reflect on it. You put yourself through the lens of others and see how are they viewing you and where do I need to improve? One of my weaknesses is if I'm not careful, I can come off as a dictator very quickly. That's a weakness of mine. Now, the strength of mine is I'm very commanding in business. I can tell you kind of what needs to happen, and I can often validate it. But if I'm not careful, weakness is I can come off dictatorial. I didn't realize that until I started receiving some 360 feedback from the team, and it certainly wasn't what I was trying to accomplish. I was trying to drive us to the vision. I could see exactly where we're headed. But what was happening was my lack of self-awareness was distracting and deflecting others from observing the same vision that I saw and that I was driving the company to. So you may go with a 360 feedback. You may do a self-assessment. You may look at where is it that you're getting the most pushback. Another strategy is just consistently learn. This week I was talking to a young man who is considering starting his business. And he's like, well, what should I do? He's wanting me to give him the answer. And we've all been there. We've all sought counsel. And it's like, just tell me what to do and I'll go do it. And all I kept saying is, I want you to read a book a week. What? Just go read a book. Read a book every 2 weeks. Read a book. He's like, but I want to know what to do. Read a book. He's like, but, and he began to ask me questions. I said, dude, I don't know how many times I'm going to tell you this. Read a book. The more that you read, the more knowledge you gain, the more self-assessments you can do, the more clarity you have, and the more opportunities you see. Read. Educate yourself. So as we're looking at this vision, we have to be aware of who we are. But here is perhaps the key, is there must be a discipline. There must be a discipline to the vision. So many times when I talk to business owners, they can articulate where they want to be. Hey man, we want to double the revenue in the next 5 years. Cool, let's go. Or we want to cut expenses, SG&A, want to cut expenses. Or, you know what, we want to expand our footprint from this local area to a regional area, from a regional to a national area. We want to, and then the list can go on and on and on. You perhaps have many of those visions or many goals that you have. Are you disciplined to that vision? You see, the clearer the vision, the easier it is to obtain. But oftentimes, because we haven't spent time getting crystal clear in where we're going, what happens is we're not disciplined. So, for example, our time ends up being used elsewhere. You see, every day should be dedicated to making one step closer to that vision. I'll give you a real life example. This is my world. I told you I was going to open my world up. I can't wait to show you the financially simple experience. And I'm going to show you behind the scenes on what we're doing and how we're doing it and various things. But just yesterday, my mind was not clear. Recently, like I said, my stepdad just passed away. I'm dealing with some emotions there and just thinking through just the frailty of life. And I came to the office. I had a couple of ho-hum meetings. They were just kind of, I got to show my face. But I was trying to record this particular podcast, and I was doing the research, and I was ready. I sat down behind the microphone here, and I began to talk, and it just wasn't there. I got home last night, and Emily said, how was the day? I said, I made one step forward. What she's learned from that is a philosophy that I have, and that is just keep stepping. I'm reminded of a story that I witnessed years ago, and you may have seen this particular clip. It's about an Olympic runner who had trained for the Olympics, and he's running around a particular race. I don't remember which race it was. He's running around the race, and he catches a cramp in his leg. And he's on the ground, and he's trying his best just to finish the race. And out of the stands, out of nowhere, comes his coach and his dad. His coach is his dad. He puts his arm around and he said, we're going to finish the race. Just take one step. Just take the next step, man. Just the next step. You see, if we're disciplined in our vision, we know exactly where we're headed. And all we have to do, even when we don't feel like it, even whenever you just are dealing with emotions like I've been dealing with, even whenever you're dealing with setbacks in business, we realize all we have to do because of the discipline of our vision is to take a simple step forward that day, always advancing. Another key component, this may seem like it's to come out of right field on you here, and we'll dive into this concept a little bit more in another podcast, but another key component to being disciplined in our vision is understanding your value, understanding how much you're worth. Obviously, we're fearfully and wonderfully made. Obviously, our mamas love us. We know that. We have people in our lives that love us for who we are. But in the business world, each of us have a value, and that value is directly correlated to the impact or the influence or the value that others perceive that we can bring to them. And so if we're looking at our vision, we have to understand where our value is today. And in order for us many times to achieve our vision, we're going to have to elevate our personal value or the value to which we deliver out of our companies. We're going to have to know who we are and how much we're worth. One reason why I often see people miss their vision is because they shortchange themselves. They don't know what they're worth. They give it away for free. I've been guilty of this many, many, many times. I see people and I'm like, man, it'd be great to work with you. I like your personality. And I cut my fee. And now I find myself months, years later saying, wow, this person is costing me money to work with him. I like them, but they're costing me money. If we truly know how much we're worth, then we're willing to hear a no and be okay with it. We're willing to hear you're expensive, or that's outside my price range, and be okay with it because we know what our value needs to be in order for us to truly achieve the vision that we have for our lives. See, I truly believe many of us as business owners, we chase rabbits. We see shiny objects. We look at potential easy money and we say, oh, we're just going to do it this one time. And we forsake the vision for the immediate. We forsake the goal, whatever that goal is, for the immediate gratification. Friends, self-awareness and discipline in vision is paramount. If you are going to achieve your vision, you must be disciplined to that vision. You've got to be true to it. Another thing about discipline and vision is it causes us a order of prioritization. We know the things on our plate today that others may view as important are not important to us in accomplishing that vision. In fact, what others view as a necessity, we may look at it and it's like, it's going to be okay. I'm not even going to think about that. Let's move forward. But many times we focus on the immediate through the fires around us. Friends, I submit to you, there has to be a discipline to your vision. The clearer your vision is, the simpler life becomes. The clearer your vision is, the more disciplined you can be to achieve that particular outcome. But the vision is not determined just on our actions. Yes, we are the main driving force as business owners. I get that. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But there are many people in our lives who seek to motivate us, who seek to support us, who hold us accountable. Zig Ziglar says, people often say that motivation doesn't last. And he said, neither does a shower. That's why I recommend it daily. Each of us as business owners, if we can crystal clear articulate what our vision is, if we could do that, and we can gain accountability partners who can motivate us daily, our team who sees the same vision, who can cheer us on. Miss April in my office, I love her dearly. She says, go team. It's her pep talk. Whenever we just accomplish something, she's like, go team. And it's just her thing. And it makes me smile every time she does. But what she's saying is that, hey, I see the vision and I want to constantly motivate our team to that outcome. That's what we want whenever we gain clarity in our vision. You see, your team, your coach, your advocates can hold you accountable to your true vision. I can remember not too long ago when I was running as the CEO of Heritage Investors, one of my employees called me to their office and they shut the door and they said, how is this decision marching us toward this vision that you outlaid? And at first I was defensive, like many of us are. Well, how dare you question me, right? There's that dictator coming out of me. How dare you just do what I said because I said to do it? But it really took me back. And I just paused and I'm like, interesting. I didn't think about this. How would you handle it? And what in that conversation, that exchange of events was, is I had given the vision so clearly that the team, whenever I was floundering a little bit, they were holding me accountable to my vision. They provided me emotional support when a time period was rough to my vision. They gave me a different perspective to my vision. It wasn't an echo chamber. They said, hey, if you want to go here, could we consider this? And we celebrated milestones together. So friends, I got to ask the question. Was Tim McGraw right? If you had an abbreviated time, whatever it may be, would you be able to accomplish your vision? You say, Justin, I found out that I have 10 years left to live. And in my 10 years, I want to accomplish this within my business. Okay. Could you do it? I dare say that if we understood how frail life really is, if we understood how important the visions that we have for our lives are, if we understood how important they are, we would accomplish so much more than we ever dreamt of. We would blow the vision out of the water. I said in the recent podcast, we don't think big enough. I think oftentimes we don't see the plans that God has for our lives. I think he has bigger plans than what we have. That's my personal belief. And he lays these desires in our heart at a little bit of a time, because if we truly saw what he wants to do with our lives, it'd scare us. It'd scare the living devil out of us, what my grandma used to say. It'd just scare me. The reality is that we often get distracted toward our vision because we're not disciplined toward our vision. So I've got to ask you the question, was Tim McGraw right? If you knew you had a limited time, just a little bit of time left, what would you do differently? Would your vision change? Would your life's mission change? What are you going to do about it? Friends, we have a lot of offerings. I can't wait to show you what our team can bring to you to help you with your vision. If you need somebody to chat with, reach out to us. Until next time, y'all go out and make it a great day.